what precipitated the actual God show me the way? Was there a circumstance in your life at that moment?
There wasn't a major, like you would think, again, the overdose, right?
Yeah.
There wasn't anything as bad as that happened. It got to the point where I would wake up every single day at 5, 6 in the morning and not think about breakfast, coffee. Certainly, well, I had morning rituals, but they weren't what they are today.
Yeah.
It was reach for my pill bottle because I would wake up with anxiety and fear of like just dealing with the day. It wasn't about getting fucked up, taking these pills. It was about feeling normal. So I would reach for the pills, take them on an empty stomach. 20 minutes later, they would start to kick in and I would just feel this like, like what a breath does for me today is what the pills did. Just this like warm, soothing feeling over my body. And then I could step foot outside my door and not be afraid for a couple hours until the pills would start to wear off. And then the obsession of the mind would start to come again. And I was getting prescriptions from my psychiatrist for Xanax. At the time, having 6 surgeries on my knee, now I could get any painkillers from any doctor. All I had to do is go in and show my medical records and go in and with a limp and lie about the pain. Where the truth is, like I've had 7 surgeries on my left knee and I don't even take Advil or anything. And I don't even think I really needed it then. I was just like manipulating these doctors so that I could always have something, but they would give me a month prescription and that month prescription would be gone in like 5 days.
Holy shit.
And so then there's, 3 weeks of trying to figure out how am I going to get pills, and you just figure it out. You find ways, people that are not necessarily living on the streets, but you just find them where they're not coming from a doctor, or you go to Mexico like I did. Those were the lengths that I would go to just to feel normal. And so it just became a cycle of like waking up every single day and eventually being sick and tired of being sick and tired. So there wasn't like that last circumstance. It was just like I finally surrendered. And when I got in to rehab, that's when I got curious. I was like, what the fuck happened to my life?
How many years has this been?
When baseball ended for me to my first rehab, I think was like 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you've been living on that cycle for 6 years?
Yeah, I wouldn't say completely. Like the pills, the first couple years, like I would take them, but it wasn't like a heavy grip. I smoked a lot of pot back in the day. And so that kind of replaced the pills at times. But it was really like the last 4 years of just like every single day trying to find a way to numb out and ultimately just feel normal and be comfortable in my own skin for a couple hours. The willingness came when I was just so beat down. And I'm like, fine, just my first sponsor said, nobody's ever relapsed that has done everything their sponsor told them to do. And I'm like, fine, just tell me what I need to do. Just tell me and I will do it. My way is not working. Like I'm in rehab. It's not working out well at all. And so that was like the first step into personal development or working on myself, because you have therapy and you're doing 12-step work and you're starting to understand, and that curiosity of like, what happened to my life? And what I came to understand that when I stopped blaming the doctors and the doctor that screwed me over and let go of that resentment, and my family who didn't understand and my friends who left me hanging, like I understand why they wouldn't want to hang out with me anymore. Like, I got it. And so to finally take ownership of that, I came to understand that I didn't want to feel the emotional pain of the loss of my identity, the loss of my purpose, the loss of the love of my life of baseball. And so I numbed it every day for years through pills and through drugs and alcohol. Alcohol was like not really a problem for me. It was more the other stuff, especially like the pills that kind of slowed you down. That's really what I loved.
It's interesting because like alcohol, it doesn't really stand a chance against one of those other ones. And I guess, I think of Gabor Mate's statement where he says, the wrong question is why the addiction, the right question is why the pain. That to me is just like the essence of like what is unresolved in there. And I'm curious with baseball, maybe it's in there now, but with sports and universities, when someone experiences the ending or the retirement or the thing, do they have therapists to navigate? Like, was there support potentially available? Were they like, hey, Donny, we got to make sure that we're navigating emotionally this process for you because it's painful, or no?
I don't think it was available. I wasn't aware of it. Certainly, given everything that I was going through, the extensiveness of this surgery, it being my senior year, knowing baseball was over, you would think that would have been presented to me, and it wasn't. And sadly, I don't know how much of that is today. I think it's a lot better. But that's a big part of why I choose to share my story, and a lot of the work that I do with other athletes now is helping them in that transition, because that is what almost killed me. Was putting all my identity and all my purpose into this sport. And I tell my athletes that I work with today is you better know who you are when your sport ends. Because whether it ends with this awesome retirement ceremony or it ends on a dime with an injury, if you don't know who you are, it's going to be rough. And so figure out who you are. And that's why, Darren and I, that's our relationship started as coach-client, where I was coaching him, and it's evolved into like this awesome love story and best friends and having the podcast now, Comeback Stories. But early on, it was like figuring out who are you beyond the sport. And that's what I'm so passionate about today, because man, it's a struggle. And it's not just sport. It could be a coaching client that I have that's a empty nester mom that has all of her identity has been in being a mom. And now 18 years old, the son or the daughter is about to leave. And they're in that same exact predicament I was in.
Yeah, and it's so easy to source our identity from things that give us validation, that give us worth, that give us value, and nothing wrong with the experience of feeling valued as a mother or a father or an athlete. If you don't have value outside of those things, you're right, then you're left in disarray.